The first one we're going to open today is formatting and editing. There we go. All right. So let's take a look at the user interface here real quick. Now, this is an intermediate class, so there's an expectation that you have some experience with using Word. But whatever you learn in Word is going to help you when you transfer over to maybe PowerPoint or Excel or any of the Office apps. They're all laid out kind of the same way. So in this user interface, in this case, we have a picture of the page that we're working on. This one already has words on it because this is the way that I set it up. And if we look down here at the taskbar, or the status bar rather, we can see that we're on page 1 of 8. So we know that there's 8 pages as part of this. And all it is a series of sentences, sample sentences, that kind of repeat over and over, and then create some longer paragraphs and shorter ones where we can practice inserting graphics and different things too, and use as kind of a workspace, or maybe even sandbox, sometimes people call it, where you can practice different features. And so this is provided for you. When we're done today and we close out of this, when we go to close it, it will say, do you want to save your changes? I always suggest that you don't save the changes, so you have a fresh sheet that you can practice with later. And so that's important to keep around. So over here we have our scroll bar, sometimes called the elevator bar. And if I click on it, we can see what page we're on. So we're actually down here on page 2. And in the page layout format, which is where I prefer to work, I like it because I can see the top of the page. I know that this is the header up here because it's up at the top. And also because of the, I scroll up here, for example, you can see over here with the ruler, that feature that we have. So we can see that the text area, the body of the text, is from the left side to the right. There's an extra space for the margins. And up here, we can learn that the margins are exactly 1 inch on either side. And then the header that you see is 1 inch for that header. This is all default, the standard way that it comes when you start to write on a blank sheet. And this footer area that's down here is also 1 inch by looking at the ruler. Now, if you have used Microsoft Word before and you are not seeing the ruler out, the ruler will be on or off depending on how you left it the last time you closed Microsoft Word. So the first thing in this user interface is we're looking around at the different things that we have here. And in the page layout view, we see the page and the ruler. If you're not seeing the ruler, then we all start by default on the Home tab ribbon. And I'll just say before I change this ribbon that these are the groups, commands, and features that Microsoft thinks are the most common that we use. And so we have the clipboard group, all of these different things that we can do. And if features like cut and copy aren't available, well, that's just because we haven't selected something. Once we select it, then it becomes available to us. And then we have the font group with all of these different features here. And we know what's in the font group because here's this little gray line on the side, on the right, and on the left. And these are all the different commands, buttons, shortcuts, drop-down menus that we can use available in the font group. So the Home tab ribbon, again, has these various different groups. Here's the paragraph group with alignment, different options, some styles, editing, and now with 2016 and on, we even have, if you have a microphone set up, you can do the voice dictation where you speak to it and it types it out for you. Pretty cool. And some other things, all in the Home tab ribbon. Well, we had mentioned that we have our ruler that should be out there by default, but if somehow it got turned off in the past, here's how you fix it. So again, Home tab ribbon, most common. We have the Insert tab ribbon. And we can see you can insert shapes and charts and bookmarks and links, headers and footers, all the things you can insert. And so it's always a good idea when you're learning a new program is take some time to poke around, look at things. And if you're not sure what something does, hover over it. And then you usually get a little screen tip that pops down and says, draw a shape, insert ready-made shapes such as circles, squares, and arrows. Tell me more. Not all of these shortcuts and commands have a tell me more, but a lot of them do. And so when you see something that says tell me more, just know that you can click on it. And over here, we have this window pane that opens up, and we have descriptions all about whatever that feature was. In this case, adding shapes, more information to it. How about pictures? We hover over it. It says what it is and what it does. There's no extra little help that's available to it, but some of them do. And so here's all the ones for insert. You could take hours looking at it. Here in 2016, they added this new. If you have 2013 or older, you could still go into the custom ribbon and you can actually add a draw feature to it, but it comes by default in 2016 or newer. Here's the design tab ribbon, which we'll touch on lightly at the end of our class today, and then touch more on tomorrow in our advanced class. We see the various groups here, and then layout. This is about how the pages lay out. So the page setup, here's our margins where we can change it, orientation from landscape to portrait, going back and forth, different size papers, maybe we want to put columns, multiple columns, all of these different page setup features in the page setup group, and the paragraph group for spacing and all of that. References. Well, we'll be doing this in our advanced class tomorrow. We'll be inserting footnotes. Today, if we have time, we'll show you a table of contents just a couple clicks away if you're using styles, style sets, and style themes, as well as a navigation page. Those features become available to you. So in addition to footnotes and table of contents, we have other things that we can also do in this section here in references. Then we have the mailings tab ribbon. You'll notice a lot of these are grayed out. Well, they're grayed out until you start the mail merge and select recipients. We cover this in our advanced class. And so if you have 250 students at your school and you want to send a letter home to the parents of all 250 students, you only have to write one letter. And then you could use an Excel database of all of the addresses and names of those students. And then you can use that one letter with the mail merge and send it and create or print out, in this case, 250 unique letters with the specific names of the parents and the student and other information on them. Again, we share that with you tomorrow. And once you start clicking on these other ones become available. So here we are in review. That would kind of make sense. We have like different things that you could do, including checking spelling and all that available to you, as well as tracking changes and things. And then here in the view tab has to do with the way that it looks. And so again, we've been talking about being on the print layout, or the page layout, sometimes called, where you can see the whole page. That's where we are. We know that's the one we're on because there's a box around it. And then we have some other tools here. But you notice right here in the show group, again on the view tab, if we click this button and there's a check mark, we can see the ruler. If we don't want to see the ruler, we can click on it, and to deselect it, there's no check mark. Now there's no longer a ruler that we see. So if you don't see one on your computer and you want to make it look like the one that we're demonstrating with here today, just click on that box and suddenly you have your ruler there available to you. And by the way, there's lots of tools and tricks of being able to click on these different things, and moving around does different things. And this over here, this too, this is how you can set up tabs and custom tabs, and all that's explained in your handbook. We won't have time to get into all of those today, but those features are in your handbook. And another, again, navigation page, we'll be doing that later today. When you click on it, it opens something up, and we'll show you how that works, but you have to be using styles to make it work. Something that a lot of people don't know about. So here is our page that we see. We see our header up here at the top, and we see the body or the body text of our document. Well, sometimes you want to add a picture, and maybe you want it to be centered exactly right. And so you're kind of eyeballing back and forth. Well, there's a great tool called grid lines. Check this out. You click on that, and now wherever the body of the text is, or the body of the document where you can write and add text to it, is now in this grid. And since it's in this grid, it's a lot easier if I had a picture to say, well, I'm 10 boxes from the edge on this side and 10 from that side. So it allows you to line things up a little bit better. So that's a nice feature to be able to get to. So that's pretty cool. So now we have our ruler back. So just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So a couple other things that we see. So I told you that down here at the bottom is a status bar. Not only does it tell you what page we're on and how many pages there are, it tells you how many words there are in the document. That could be helpful, especially if you're writing an essay. And if I were to select a couple of words, like right here, Microsoft Word, then it shows me that I'm selecting 2 out of that. I just thought that was interesting that they do that. Not sure why you would need it. But you do have a few other things that are available to you on the status bar. This right here, if you hover over it, it's going to tell you it's the print layout. Same thing that we saw on the View tab. Sometimes when someone sends something to you, the document comes to you and it looks like this, or like, oh my gosh, that doesn't look right. That's not what I was hoping to get. How do I edit this? It doesn't look anything like what I'm familiar with. Well, you can go up to View and change it back to where is it easier. But again, if I didn't want to, I couldn't find it up there, I can always do it right down here on the status bar. And then we see this little zoom button here, not zoom like the presentation we're doing today, but zoom as in zooming in and out. So right now we're looking at this page in my Microsoft Word 2016, we're at 126% of the original. And if I want to go smaller, I can go down in 10% increments by hitting the minus sign until I see the size that I want. Notice the ruler's gotten smaller too. Or I can hit the plus sign and make it go back up to whatever size I want. I can also grab this bar in the middle and drag it to make it zoomed in, or drag it to make it smaller, kind of zoomed out. And so I can use it that way. Or you can find a spot and say, well, here's the middle. I can see that little thing here. Just click on it, boom, and it takes you, well, pretty close to the middle, right there. So you can drag it, pull it, click on the bar, and it will take you to there, whatever size that is, and move it around that way. But all of those, in my opinion, are the more difficult way to do it. There's always an easy way to do it. So here's your first keyboard / mouse shortcut. So on your keypad, if you're using a laptop, then you have your QWERTY keyboard on the left-hand side and your number keypad on the right. And then you have some other buttons that are kind of tossed in there. And we'll be looking at a few of those. If you're on a desktop computer, the keyboard is much bigger. In between your number keypad and your QWERTY keyboard, you have the up, down, left, right arrows, as well as a delete button, a page up, page down, home and end, like the home you live in, and end, like the end of a movie. But for right now, all we're going to do is hold the control key, which is in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It either says CTRL, or some keyboards actually spell out the word control. If you hold that down, and then you have your mouse, you have a left button, a right button. If you roll your mouse wheel slowly one direction, it makes it smaller. And if you roll your mouse the other direction, your mouse wheel, then it makes it larger. So you can quickly zoom it into whatever looks comfortable for you. And for me, I kind of like about that size right there. I can see things. Hopefully you can see it pretty good in your end. So again, all I did was roll the mouse wheel after holding down the control key. So that's helpful. A couple other things real quick. So let's see. We have over here our elevator car. That's what I call it. This is the scrolling ability. If we want to go to the top, we can slowly go up by hitting the up arrow, and then the opposite, of course, the down arrow, and slowly we can see this elevator car going down. Well, that's, if you're okay with slow, that's fine. But in Mr. J's class, we teach you all the fast ways. So one thing you can do is if you left click and hold it, you can see we're on page 1 still, just the last little part of it up there you can see. And as we drag down the elevator car, so all I did was hover over it, left click, hold it, and drag it down or drag it up. And as fast as I can drag, I can move up and down. But what about if you have a 100-page handbook, like the handbooks that I have? It's kind of hard to drag through 100 pages. You could still do it, but there's other ways that you can do this. So for example, if I know that in my document, right about here is where I usually work, because that's what I noticed, left click and hold it, it goes straight there. And the same is true if you have like the last couple of pages you're working on, that's where you want to go. You can hold your mouse cursor there, left click and hold it, and it goes straight to there. So there's a couple ways. Now remember, there's a left click and the cursor inserts. There's a right click. Oh, look, mini toolbar appears. So we see a lot of the font group things are available in this little mini toolbar, as well as the bullets and the numbering that are over here in the paragraph group, as well as a few other ones that are available here. That's pretty cool. And how did I get that? I just right click on something, or just by dragging and selecting something. Once I drag it and select it, then I get this little mini toolbar that appears. So there's a left click and drag that does something. And if you right click, not only do you get the mini toolbar, but you also get this shortcut menu. Now this shortcut menu will change depending on what you right click on, and we'll see that throughout today's presentation. So that's pretty cool. So what about over here? We've clicked on it and held it, and that happened. What if you double click? Well, that doesn't really do much. It's just moving it one screen at a time. So if you're trying to look for something, you see about half a page here. If you're clicking on the this elevator space bar area here, or scroll bar area, then it kind of goes one page at a time of whatever you can see. So that's an interesting way to look for stuff that way. But what about a right click? Oh, look at that. Scroll to here, top, bottom. So if I want to go to the top, bam, there it is. Hit the right click again, go to the bottom, there it is. And so the page up and page down is the same as just clicking above it, and it kind of goes up one page at a time, or clicking below it does the same thing. Well, that's pretty cool. Those are just some different things that are available to you. Let's go back up to the top. Now I could do all that stuff, but what if I'm typing on my keyboard? I'm right here and I'm just adding a couple of words or something to it, and I don't want to have to take my hands off the keyboard to go to the top. Is there a keyboard shortcut, Mr. J? Absolutely. And I'm down here, I click on it, I'm on page 6. I want to get to the top fast. I've just let go of my mouse, and now I have my hands on the keyboard. So if you hold down the control key, and if you look over there by the number keypad, either to the left of it or just above it, depending on your keyboard, you have a home button, H-O-M-E, like the home you live in, and you have the end button, E-N-D, like the end of a movie or the end of something. And so if you hold down the control key and then you tap the home key, it takes you to the top. There's our elevator car, page 1. That's pretty cool. And the opposite is also true. Hold down the control key and then hit the end key, E-N-D, like end of a movie, and it takes you instantly to the bottom. That's helpful on 8 pages, so you don't have to scroll to get back up somewhere or use the features over here we saw. But again, if you're Mr. J and you're working on a 100-page handbook and you want to get to the bottom or the top, it's so much easier to just use the control, home, and back up to the top we go. All right, so here we are at the top, and now we're going to show you some different tips and tricks for selecting things. All right, so if we've spent any time on a computer at all, we learn very quickly that if we want to select something to maybe modify it, in this case format, we can left click, hold it, and drag across something. But sometimes, like I was just trying to do the word sentence, and sample got selected as well. So sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. So you're trying to get it just right, and so wherever you let it go, there it is. So that's not what I wanted, so I'm going to start over. There's other ways to do this. So remember I said you could left click, right click, double click, and even triple click. And so here's some examples. So if I want to select this word sentence here, I can left click and drag. That's one way. Or I can just double click. What? So whatever you double click on, it's going to select that word. It doesn't matter how long it is. If you double click on it, there it is. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, then Mr. J said you could triple click. Well, what does that do? If you triple click, you're actually going to select an entire paragraph. Now, to be precise, a paragraph is whenever you're typing something out, you get to the end and you hit the enter key to start a new line, that means this is a one sentence paragraph. Now, I'm not your English teacher, and I know that we should have more than one sentence in a paragraph, but for the purposes of desktop publishing, we're going to call each one of these lines a paragraph, as much as this is a paragraph, or this one, because all of these things were written out, and when we got to the end, we hit the enter key or the return key to go down to another line. So in a paragraph, if you double click on a word, it selects it. If you triple click, 1, 2, 3, it selects the entire paragraph. So again, that's a short paragraph, but trust me, it works. So double click and triple click. So there it is. And it doesn't matter how big it is. Double click and triple click. Oh, I went too far. Mr. J's sausage fingers hit 4 times. So let's try that again. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. A little bit easier. But wait, there's more. Did you know that if you want to select a line of something, like say I want to select, let me click away and make it unselected. I want to select just this line for some reason, this third line. If I'm over here in the margin and I do some clicking, different things happen. One click to the left of a line selects just that line. So that's not a sentence or a paragraph. That's parts of 2 sentences, and it's within a paragraph. So that's just a single line. Well, that's kind of cool. Well, how about this? If you left click and hold it, let's try that again. Sometimes my Zoom makes me click things twice and it's kind of annoying, but let's try it again. If I left click and hold it and drag down, as far as I drag down before I let it go, that's what will be selected. So I just let it go there, and so I selected all that. So that's pretty helpful if you want to do that, and don't let it go until you get to where you want. That's pretty helpful. But wait, there's more. So if it's a triple click here to get the entire thing selected, I wonder what happens if I click over here. So here's one click. Oh, that's just a line. Here's a double click. What? Instead of 3 clicks, it's only 2. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 1, 2. So it depends. Whatever the length is, it selects the whole thing. So in this case, because it's only one line, you only have to click it once because you're just selecting that line. But if you get a big fat one down here like this, a double click in the margin, you select everything. So that's helpful. And that way we can select some things. But wait, there's more. So sometimes you're working on a large screen or even a tiny screen, but you have multiple documents open. Maybe you are, oh, hold on, I got to move my Zoom window out of the way. Let's get that over here. Maybe you are copying from one document and then pasting into another one. And so you have very tiny screens. And so coming in here with a mouse on a tiny screen and trying to select something can get very awkward and difficult to do. So here's another way. And I like to use this a lot because it's very precise. If I put my cursor at the beginning there, or maybe I missed and I put it there, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put my mouse over here and let it go. You can see my little paint spot there. And again, between the QWERTY keyboard on the left and the number keypad on the right, you have your up, down, left, right arrows. So here we go. Up takes you up, down takes you down, left takes you to the left, and the right arrow takes you to the right. So I'm going to go up to this next line here. Now my cursor is right there in front of the word Microsoft. And I actually want to select just Microsoft Word 2013. All right. So now that my cursor's there, and again, I'm letting go of my mouse. This is all keyboard. I can hold down the Shift key. That's that one to make a capital letter. It's right above your Control key. If I hold down the Shift key, and again, I'm just going to show you where it is in case you missed it, right there in front of the word Microsoft, and hold down the Shift key, and then hit the right arrow, then one unit at a time, or in this case, a letter or a space, it selects it. Oh, I went too far. No worries. Still holding down the Shift key, I do the left arrow. I can move it back. Oh, too far. Do the right arrow. I get it exactly where I want. Now my hands are off the keyboard. So now if I wanted to bold this, for example, I can go up here and use this feature, and now it's bold. Pretty cool. And I can start making all kinds of adjustments to it. And just for fun, let's take a little look at some of our little features that we have in the font group. So most everybody knows what bold is. You hover over it, it's going to tell you. Not only that, it tells you the keyboard shortcut. That's pretty cool. The next one's italic. So if I click on that, we can see it kind of leads it to the right. We know that both bold and italic are being used right now because we see these little gray squares around it. In fact, over here in the paragraph group, we see this one with a square around it. Oh, align left. That makes sense. It's all the way aligned over to the left margin. So not every feature gives you an indication that it's being employed, that particular feature, but a lot of them will have a box around it and show you. So let's see underline. Okay, I underlined it. Remember, when you see a drop-down button like this, a little drop-down menu, you have lots of choices. So I can make it double line. And by the way, Microsoft Word is a very powerful tool, some 100 or perhaps even 1,000 times more powerful than Google Docs. And so one of the greatest things is, because I had selected over here Microsoft Word 2013, now I can do a preview by just hovering over these and checking out these different options. So I'm gonna, I don't know, I want to pick that one just because it's unusual, a double strike, and maybe there's more. How about underline colors? What? Not only can I see the different colors just by hovering over them, the preview is just one of the best features. That one's kind of hard to see because those lines are so skinny. Let's pick a darker one. This one's a little more broad, a little bit wider. And then when we go into the colors, if we see red, it really stands out, or kind of a gold color, or yellow, or maybe purple. I'm going to pick one. I'm just going to go with yellow because that stands out. That's kind of cool. So now it's yellow. So as you can see, it's selected. It doesn't show us exactly what, but those three features are being used. There's some other ones that you could take some time to experiment with. Again, this is selected. So this is text effects. And you do the drop-down menu. You have some that have like a mirror image of it, or they're just shaded different. And again, if you look at the right, check that out. We're seeing samples of what that looks like. In fact, it's hard to see. So let's use some of our other features here. Instead of a size 11 font, I wonder how big 8 is. Well, all you got to do is hover over it. I said hover over it. Okay, sometimes Zoom is working slow. I'm going to click away. Let's start over. There it is. We're on an 11. I'm going to hover over it. There we go. So I apologize, but because I have Zoom, which is controlling over the top of, in this case, Microsoft Word, sometimes things don't react the right way, and you have to kind of do it twice. Or maybe you're not using Zoom, and sometimes the preview is not working. It has to do with how much memory, some temporary memory that you have on, in this case, a laptop I'm working from. But sometimes it happens. But in general, you hover over it, and it'll tell you what size it is. So if you want to know what size 72 is down there at the bottom, 72-point font, well, just hover over it. There it is. And if I go away from it, it goes back to wherever it was, in this case, 11-point font. But that's pretty slick that we can see that. So we don't want it too big, but we do want it to stand out. Let's stick with an 18. Now it's selected. So that's pretty cool. How about the font color? We can, this is text highlighter. So just like I kind of selected it, you see the blue-gray box. If I wanted to make that yellow, and I don't because I've already got a yellow line there, we'll skip that one. You can play with that later. The last color that I used was red, and that's why this is red. And oh, look at that. Tell me more. Click. Opens up a window over here, and it starts to tell you all about font colors and how to change it, and custom colors, and different tips. And if I want to, I can even go in the World Wide Web and learn more. That's pretty cool. But for now, I just want to pick a color. And let's see. Do I want black? That's the one we have there. Look at all these shades. So we're not sure what it's going to look like. But wasn't that great that we could just hover over it and get an idea? So we can make it the standard colors, red, yellow, maybe purple. That's all cool. But for us, we're just going to pick kind of the Microsoft generic color, Microsoft Word color, I should say. Excel is green and Microsoft Word is blue. We'll go ahead and select that one. All right, that's pretty slick. So now we've used bold, italic, underline. We've changed the color. We've changed the size of the font. And right now we're in Calibri. That's kind of the default one. So let's take a look. We have all these other options. Here's some of the recently used ones that I've done. Oh, that looks pretty cool. If I look down on my page there, here's Algerian, looks a little different. Bernard, Aharoni, I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. There are hundreds of them, and you can just hover over them to see what they look like. So these are some of the most recent ones that I've used. You've used different recent ones, so they'll show up here. But here's the main body of them. And look, because I'm using 2016, more things are connected to the World Wide Web. And so here's some of the new fonts that they're offering that I can then just click on this button and download. So I'll click on that. I actually changed it to it, but you'll notice when I go back, well, it still has a cloud there. Come on, download already. That's the whole idea, is make it available to you. And so you can scroll through all of these and pick whichever one you want and change it, just that easy. But the great part is you get a preview. Thank you, Microsoft Word. So for right now, let's see. Where's a nice thin one? It was this one here. I think we'll stick on that one. That one looks kind of cool. And so now I've just made those changes. So let's see how many I've done. So I'm clicking over here. You can see that it's not bold or italicized or any of those are employed. But as soon as I click anywhere over here, suddenly I have an indication as to what I'm using and a little bit more information. And let's see if I right click. So the same thing, this little mini toolbar is showing me some of the things that I've employed there. But interestingly, underline doesn't show up. That's kind of weird, even though it shows up over here. Maybe that's a bug. We'll have to write Bill Gates and tell him to fix that for us. All right, so that's great. If I want to go over here and make this word sentence exactly like that, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 changes. And certainly I can click on that. And of course I have to kind of scroll through to find some and, kind of scroll through to find what it was. And maybe I don't remember if it was 18 or was it 20. I can't remember. I did this yesterday perhaps. And so it's hard to do that. Wouldn't there be great if there was another way to be able to do a shortcut or something? Absolutely. So put your cursor anywhere in this formatting and you can see all this being used. Over here, something called the Format Painter. And if you took the time to read this, it would say, select anywhere where you have formatting, whether it's 3 formatting features or 50, doesn't matter. And once it's there, you click this button, and now you see my cursor looks the same until I get into the body of the text. Then you see a paintbrush. Oh, okay, with the cursor. And so any word that I click on, then it changes that word to all 6 of those formatting features. And then as you can see, it disappears. So now it's here. If I want to do it again, I can go up and say Format Painter, and this time I can click on another one, or now it's still in that same exact 6 different formatting features. I could go do it again. What about this, Mr. J? Can you drag across more than one word and do it? You bet. Well, that's cool. What else can you do? Well, you could select it, and then you could, for example, click over here on the side. Remember what one click does? It selects the entire line. So there it is, the entire line. Now it's gotten a lot bigger and it looks exactly that way. So that's one way to do it. There's always other ways. If you're going to be doing multiple words or sentences or sections using that formatting, well then all you got to do is go up here, and if I hover over it, it's going to explain right down here. FYI, by the way, if you want to do it in more than one area, just double click. Oh yeah, Mr. J said you could double click on things. Double click. All right, so I can see my little paintbrush there. Again, you don't see it in the margin. So I can click on that word, okay. Click on that one, paintbrush is still there. Can I drag across a few words? You bet, I can do that. Can I double click over here and do the entire paragraph? Whoa, that happened fast. So intermingling those different tools, those little tips and tricks, you can do things pretty quick. Actually, my paintbrush is still there, and I want to make it go away now. So you can see there's still a gray box around it. I can either hit the escape key or simply just click on it again, and it deselects it. Now my cursor's back to normal. All right, so that's pretty cool. Formatting, how many different ways can you do it? There's just a ton of different ways. And again, you could have 50 formatting features, you could have 5, and this format painter works very well for that. So let's look at some of our quick access toolbar. That's what this is. In 2016, it comes standard with autosave, save, undo, redo, and something called touch mouse mode, which we'll talk about in a second. But for right now, if I want to undo stuff in the same order that I started making changes, but in reverse, I could undo things. So that whole paragraph was the last thing that I did, and before that was an entire line, and I can keep doing it again. It's a linear thing, but in reverse. So I can start undoing things. And if I undo too much, then I can always do redo. So now it's going in the same order as we originally did, and continue to make all those changes until ultimately down here, this whole paragraph, we'll redo it so that the whole thing is done like that. And so if I run out of things to redo because there's none left, you see it gets grayed out, says can't repeat. Well, you can also use your keyboard shortcuts. What are they? You can hover right here. It says undo paste format, Control Z. And then the redo one says it can't repeat right now, but it says Control Y. So Control Z, Control Y. Here's my mouse cursor off to the side. I got Control Z. Every time I click it, it's undoing it. And then if I do Control Y, it's putting it back just like that. So you have multiple ways to do this. Well, what happens if we're here on page 1? What happens if I go down to page 5 and I make a bunch of changes? I go to lunch and I come back, and then I'm back here on page 1, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I should have never made so many things look so ridiculous like that. I want to clear it. Well, I cannot use the undo redo features because they're linear. If I spent before lunch a couple hours down on page 5 making changes, then it's going to have to undo all of those changes before you get to here. Well then, Mr. J, how are we supposed to clear that formatting? There's got to be another way. There always is. So you can simply select all of the things that you want to fix. So maybe it's these 2 lines right here, if that's what you want to do. And right up here, you can hover on it. It's going to say clear all formatting. And you can also do tell me more. We'll click on it. So back to normal, or I can simply select all of it and just say clear formatting and take it back. And so now we just have a single one. So again, now that that's done, if we want to undo those changes I just did, now we're undoing those, or redo them, in this case, clearing formatting, we could redo it. So that's how those things work. Well, let's look at this quick access toolbar. If you're in any of the Google apps like Docs or Sheets, you have a quick access toolbar that's down below with 25 or so, give or take, features available to you. Well, I like to have mine down at the bottom with a whole bunch of the common features that I use. Again, Home Tab ribbon. This is what Microsoft thinks is the most common that people are using. That's cool. But what if we want to add to this? Let's see what our options are here. So here's a little drop-down menu. We click on it right there. And so now we see that automatic save is checked. Yep, that's what this is. Again, that showed up in 2016. Here's the old save icon, like a little floppy disk. Perhaps some of you are too young to remember that, the good old floppy disk days. And also, we don't have email and quick print and these other ones. If I wanted to add it, I could click it, and look, now I have an email icon. All right. So, and if I don't want, I can click it again and deselect it. Now you see it's no longer on here and it's no longer up there. So we have some options right here. Again, the ones you see are the default. But look down here at the bottom, show below the ribbon. Well, that's cool. Now it's down here at the bottom, showing below the ribbon. So now we can get to it a little bit easier. But what if, let's see, so let's say we're tomorrow in our advanced class. Here we are on the mailings tab ribbon, and we're doing our mail merge with the form letter that we're doing. We're going to send it out to our, we have a pretend database of a pretend school with pretend students, 373 students in that school. And so if we're working with that, this letter that we're going to send out to those 373 students, and I want to make something bold, well, I have to get off this ribbon and go all the way back to home to find those features. I understand that if I wanted to do it this way, I could select something, my mini toolbar shows up, but it doesn't give us all of the features, right? So what of that? Well, guess what? Since we're on the Home tab ribbon, not only can you hover over something that tells you what it is, remember we said we could right click, left click? So it's time to start experimenting on places. Right click on something you've never clicked on before. Add the quick access toolbar. Really? Okay. Look, there it is. All right. I like this one. Right click, add a quick access toolbar. So you right click to get this little menu and you left click to select it. There they are. And I don't need these ones so much, but this one I'm always using. Right click, and then I left click on add the quick access toolbar. And well, Mr. J, what about if you wanted to do the font size and also the font? Well, let's try. Right click. Oh, didn't say it there. Right click. Over here it says add to quick access toolbar. Click, there it is. So if you find the right spot, there it is. I had to do the more menu, the little drop down button, add a quick access toolbar. And so there it is. And so you can go through and, maybe you're on the references tab and you're looking at something, oh, researcher, that sounds cool. I'm going to right click on it, add it to the quick access toolbar, and how about insert a caption? Maybe that'll be good. How many can you add? As many as you want, but just remember, if you have 150 things on there, it's going to take you a while to go through and to find the ones that you need. So in the advanced handbook that gets sent out tomorrow, in the last chapter under tips and tricks, it teaches you how you can customize this, not only by doing what we're doing here, but by going to the backstage view, going down to options, and then clicking on quick access toolbar, and you can find one of 10,000 different features that are available to you. Add them. So you can see all the ones that we have here. That's what we have currently. I can click on any one of these and click add and add it to it. And of course, nothing happens until I hit OK. So you can practice with that. That's all available to you in the back of the advanced handbook. So another encouragement to come out to that class tomorrow. All right, so there it is. We can add as many as we want, and we go away for a couple of weeks to come back. We're like, what the heck is this? I can't even remember. We hover over it. Oh, it's researcher. Yeah, no, I never do use that. Right click, remove from quick access toolbar. Right click, remove. So you can adjust it. And if you decide you want bold, italic, underline to be at the end here, or maybe these to be over there, or change the order, you can do that by going to the backstage view. And again, those instructions are in the back of your handbook. So there's our quick access toolbar. That's handy, and no matter what tab we're on, we always have quick access to be able to change something. And we can go bold, italic, and call it blue, or maybe this time we're going to make it red, and maybe we're going to make it size 28 because we want it really big or something. All of those things are available to you just to click away. You don't have to go all the way to the top because we put it at the bottom. All right, cool. That's kind of fun. Well, let's go back to the Home tab ribbon and look at some other stuff. So here's a paragraph. I'm going to put my cursor somewhere in the middle. It's right there inside that word. That was a little confusing. How about right here inside the practicing word? And so now it's there. Let's take a look at our paragraph group. So font group works with the entire word, right? Not the entire sentence or paragraph. The paragraph group works with the entire paragraph. So here's the cursor just in the middle of this paragraph. And right now it says align left. Well, if we hover over this, it's not going to give it to us because it takes a little more. But if I click on it, now we can see that this entire paragraph is center aligned, or aligned right, or sometimes called right justified. You can see it's solid there and kind of broken up on that side. Or if you're trying to make it look like the newspaper, it'll spread it out for you so that both sides are like that. That's pretty cool. So I'm just going to put it back on left because that's kind of the standard. So what of that? What's this? Well, you hover over it. It's going to tell you it has to do with spacing. Hit the drop-down menu. Right now it's single spaced. So I wonder what 1.15 looks like. Oh, look at that. The preview feature. Wonderful. 1.5 spacing, 2, 2.5, 3. So you got to get an idea before you even click on it what it is. So usually if you're trying to make something stand out, most people use 1.5, so I can just click on that, and there it is. It's spread out like that. That's pretty cool. And there's some other stuff you can do in there. Let's take a look up here. So decrease indent. We know what indents are, like when you hit the tab key, it's up on the left-hand side of your QWERTY keyboard. So again, our cursor is still within that word practicing. It could be in any one of these words. It doesn't matter. It's part of this paragraph here. And if we want to decrease the indent, we can click this button. But look, it's not working. Why? Because here's our margin. We're already left justified, aligned left. We're already indented to the left as far as we can. So let's look at the other one. It says increase indent. Oh, okay. So we see now that this particular paragraph, every time we click that, it's moving a ½ inch. We can see that up here on our ruler. And we click that as many times as we want to indent something. And then now the decrease indent, of course, takes it back the other way. So that's a way that you can start adjusting things. Again, if you want to learn how to use these little buttons here, how to change, like maybe the first sentence is indented, or something like that, or use this trick over here to change the tabs, to customize them. Maybe you're making a legal brief and it has to look a very specific way. You can customize it to be able to do that. That's in your handbook. And so you can take the time to look at that. So here's all the paragraph things that you can use for that. All right. So now that we've played with a few of those things, let's look at some of the other tabs. And again, we'll talk about styles a little bit later and find and replace and all those things. There's so many features that you could spend hours, days, months, and years. And by the time you learn it, there's a new version out, and then they make some changes. And heaven forbid, if you're working in Google Docs, it all resides up in the cloud on the Google server farms. And so you can be using Google Docs one day, come back, and there's 5 new features that you never saw before because they just added them overnight. And they can do that at any time, at least in the case of me using 2016, even if it's 2025 right now, as long as I haven't put a new version on this computer, it'll always be the same in that regard. So that's helpful. So you can learn things better that way. Let's try the Insert tab ribbon. I'm going to scroll down to find another page. There we go. Lots of stuff. So how about right here? I'll put my cursor and let's look at the Insert tab ribbon. So there's so many things that you can insert here. Let's just go over a couple. This one says table. And if we hit the little drop down button, we see that just like in Excel, and consequently in Google Sheets and Docs the same way, you can just hover to create whatever size table you want. And so let's just look at a common one. 3x4 is kind of a common one that people use. So we'll start with that. So I'm just I can hover over it. Once I get it to 3x4, I just click on it and there it is. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is we had all of our tab ribbons up here. And now we have a new one. In fact, we have 2. Table design. All of these features in the table styles group and the table style options group, the borders group, all of these features are available because we are on this contextual tab ribbon, because we're inside the table. If I click away into the body of the paragraph, you'll see that that's no longer there. To get it back, all I have to do is select it, and all of those things show up. So a couple things, just know that you can very quickly change the formatting in multiple ways just by doing these styles, which are groups of formatting features. Maybe we want it more bold or something like this. We have these different ones that are available to us. We can pick any one of those. I'm not actually going to select one just yet because I want to be able to do it by hand. So let's say we have the cursor right here. We want to do some shading. Maybe that's the header across the top. So I'm going to drag my mouse cursor across the top, then go to shading and say, well, let's make this a header, and there's the color. And click away from it, you can see the actual color. If you want to start writing in there again, just put your cursor back and you start writing. And by the way, whatever that header says, and I'm just going to type something silly, hello, then I can go up here and use my quick access toolbar. How about we select it first? Make it bold. If I want to italicize, I can. If I want to underline, I could do that. Of course, it was yellow last time. Let's try and get rid of that color and make it black. That would look a little better. All right, and maybe we want to change the color. I could change it to red. I could change it to any one of these that I want. I'm not sure what all look good. Let's try red. Sure, why not? So there it is. We could still use our features. And of course, if you double click on it, you can get your little mini toolbar and some more features available there. Well, let's take a look at this. So just like in Excel, you can grab and move lines around, or maybe we want this first row to be bigger like that, or maybe you want the second row bigger, so you can do this. Maybe we want to move this one over. And if we click on this, we have these available to us. I was just doing some of the formatting. We go back to table design, and we have different options for the border. Which ones do you want to see? We want to see all of them. Make sure they're visible. Border painter. This is a new feature in 2016. I used this for the first time the other day. So if you want to change the way something looks, let's instead of a half point, maybe we want to make it 3 points so it stands out. I could choose individually. Come on. Oh, I clicked away from it. Let's try that again. There we go. Let's get our paintbrush. You click right on it, and whichever ones you want to do, you can build it that way. Again, this is a new feature that they have in 2016. That's pretty cool. And so we could do some things there. I can go deselect it. It's no longer active. But how about this? Layout. Oh, wow. All kinds of stuff. So maybe this cell here, we want it to be 2 cells. Let's see if we can find something. Huh, split cells. Okay, number of columns, 2. Yeah, all in the same row. You bet. There it is. So now we have 2. And look, it even copied the formatting of the border on there. That's pretty cool. Now, how about up here? We have the text that's up here. It's in the top left-hand corner. Yeah, just like right here. We have all these different options. If you want to put it in the bottom right-hand corner, you can click there, and now it's moved. Most people like to have it just in the middle, or maybe in the middle to the left or to the right. So all of these options are available to you here. That's pretty slick. And if we decide that right here we want these two to be merged together, then let's see if we can find a place where it does that. Oh yeah, merge. And now there's just a single cell that's there. And maybe we want to fill that with a different color. Go back to table design, find the shading, and maybe it's blue that we want there. I don't know. You can play with this for hours, days, months, and years, and then go back and start adding this other stuff to it. These formatting features will override some of the stuff that you did. I'll just pick one. How about that one? So we still see hello, but now it's stuck it up on the right-hand side. I could go back and change things, but we're not going to take the time to do that. Let's go down a little bit further. All right, so I'm going to put my cursor right here. What's some of the other things that we can insert? Let's go to the Insert tab. How about pictures? All right, we can get it from this device. Maybe I have it on my hard drive in a folder somewhere, or a stock image that Microsoft has available for you, or online pictures. We can go search stuff. All right, well, I love to search stuff in Google, but Microsoft sets it up so it goes to Bing, but it still has some pretty good search abilities. So there we see a number of different categories that we could scroll through. So maybe you're trying to find a picture of a dog or a cat or something, and you can click on those. But for our purposes, we're just going to type out something. My closest neighbors are horses, and I love horses, so I'm just going to say horse and hit enter. And it says Creative Commons only. So what this means is you can use these images without having any problems with copyright or whatever, because you can just use it, and that's helpful. So here's a beautiful one. I can either click here one time and select it down here and I insert it, or remember Mr. J said you could double click. There you go. Give it a second. Whoa, that's really big, Mr. J. What do we do with that? Well, many things. First of all, notice that it just threw it down there and it did whatever size it wanted, whatever size the picture was when it got it. Notice again, contextual tab ribbon, picture format, with all these different groups, the adjust group, the picture styles group, which we'll use in a second, and some other ones, all there. And all we had to do is just click on a picture of horses and there it is. If I click back into the body of the document, then the picture's still there, but I don't see the manipulation points in the corner, and especially the contextual tab ribbon for pictures, the picture tools. And so how do I get that back? I simply click on it. And now it says picture format, I have all my tools. And the first thing we're going to do is make this a little bit smaller. So I grab that manipulation point and I make it a little bit smaller, maybe even just a little bit more. All right. So what can we do? 1,000 things. We could spend 4 hours, 10 hours, 100 hours working on all these different things. If you're following the handbook that I sent you, first thing it'll tell you is you want to adjust how the text is wrapped. And I could do it up there, but it gives us these layout options right here, so I can click on it. So right now it's in line with text. You can see the text above it, text below it. There's a bunch of different ones. You can have the text behind it, in front of it, all these different ones. You could take time trying to see what it looks like. The one that the book will tell you, and because of time, we'll just go ahead and click on it, is the type. And the reason I like that is because I'll click away from it, make that go away. I can grab it and move it around, and it's going to stay tight in there. Mr. J, can you adjust how close the words are to the edge of the picture? You bet. All of that's adjustable. In fact, if I go down here where it says see more, then I can start making all kinds of adjustments. I can also get to those tools up here if I take the time to find it. But let's do some things quick here real quick. So picture styles, how many picture styles are there? Quite a few. And all you have to do is hover over it, and it's going to show you those formatting features. So this particular one, you can see like a shadow around it, like it's lifted off the page. This one, it has like a little shadow down below, like it's up in the air. You have all these different ones that are available to you, and you can look at all of them and take a look at it. And look at this one, it's round. We can see the text is kind of coming close and kind of copy that oval shape. That's pretty cool. Well, in your handbook, it's going to tell you to select this one, bevel perspective. And you can, of course, do whatever one you want. Well, wait, there's more. Not only can we make all kinds of changes with all those things, remember, whenever there's another menu or a little more button here, click on that, and look at this. Now we can adjust the shadow in all those ways. And then we can close it. We can adjust the reflection. We can adjust the glow if I want to make more glow, whatever, or I can go up and find that picture effects up here, and I can go like to the glow here and say, hey, I really want to be really bright and pink, or maybe I want this bluish color, whatever it is. But you notice when we have like the glow being wider, the text is going to be further away. And the less glow or these extra features that we have, the closer the text is going to be to it. So there's that to consider. But here we are. The book will tell you then to go to artistic effects. And look at this. We can make it look like a charcoal drawing. Wow, just that fast. Grayscale, looks like a pencil drawing maybe. This one looks like it's behind the shower, like glass pane, so you can't see everything perfectly. All kinds of crazy ones. And again, you can spend so much time experimenting. This one looks like cracked cement. I think that's the one we use in the book. And so again, you can adjust, make these smaller, bigger, whatever. What does this do? Well, grab a hold of it. If you don't like what you did and it kind of messed something up, undo, and you can put it back and make whatever changes you want. So all that's pretty slick and things that are available to you. Let's take a look at something else. So if I put my cursor over here, just so we're on this page, go to the Insert tab, and this time I'm going to try a shape. Now I'm going to do this twice. There's a gazillion different shapes you can do. Here's one we're familiar with, the heart. All right, I click on it. Now my cursor has this little plus sign, right? So if I drag, I'm left clicking and holding. I haven't let go of my left button on the mouse. If I pull it down, it gets more tall and skinny. If I pull it to the right, it gets more flat and squat. And so sometimes we go to get a shape, but then after we let it go of it, we're like, holy cow, that looks like someone's feet laying on the ground and you're looking at the end of them. Or maybe it looks like a seat cushion, whatever. It doesn't look like a heart anymore. So we could start trying to stretch it out and trying to find where the heart is. But what if we want it to look just like it did when we started? Well, let's do a couple undos. Boom, boom. It's gone. Now let's go back to insert, go back to shapes, and there's a keyboard trick you can use. There's our heart. And this time, before I start, you hold down the Shift key. It's right above the Control key. Yep, it's the one that makes capital letters, but it also works with other things. You hold down the Shift key, you left click, you drag. And no matter if you're dragging to the right or if you're dragging straight down, it's going to keep the proportions of it so that it works just fine. And again, you can do all those things where you can do the tight text wrapping and move it in, and almost all the things you could do with the picture before, you could do it with that. And so why is it important to know that shift thing? Well, because if you're, let's go back to insert tab, and I want to do a shape, and here's a circle. It also happens to be a smiley face. But again, if you don't get it just right, it doesn't look like a circle, it looks like an oval. So I'm going to undo that, go back to insert, go to the shape, go to here, and this time I'm going to hold the shift key down and then do it. It'll always stay a perfect circle, no matter how big or small you make it, whether you drag down or drag to the right. So that's helpful. Oh, I let it go and it got squat. Something happened. Oh well, I think I let go of the shift button because I was in a hurry. All right, so that's pretty cool. And again, you have all the same features that you can do. You can change the colors, you can do all that. There's other insert things like Smart Art, which is amazing, where you have like flow charts. Here's all of them. You can scroll through them, see how small that car is. There's so many. So you remember like the food pyramid, that's available in here. Cycles, you start off with the egg, and then you have the hatchling, and then you have a juvenile, then an adult, and whatever. And you can put all these different things in there and practice with that. You could spend 4 hours just working on Smart Art, in this case, flowcharts. Well, we don't have time for that. So we want to spend a little bit of time working on a few more things here. All right. So if you want to make a link to somewhere, this is in your handbook. You can do bookmarks, different things. You could just double click on it, and then you can right click on it, and your shortcut menu, as you can see, it says link. There's just one of them here in the shortcut menu. So let's go ahead and make a link. And so this opens up, and we want this to be a link to the San Diego Unified web page. So you want existing file or web page, that's what we want. And here's the text to display. We can change to whatever we want here. So we need the web address. So if we know what it is, we can type it in. And let's just try it, www.san, oh, and where, right? Oh, look, it's trying to put it out here for me because it's guessing. I've done this before. And in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and say, okay. So now when I click on this, if I hover over it, it's going to tell me that, hey, you have to hold down the control key, get your little magic finger there, and you touch it. And then on your browser, whichever browser that you have as your default browser, you can see it's opening up and it takes you there. And so that's pretty slick. Looks like they've changed the home page again. All right, good for them. I'll get rid of that, go back to our Word document, and now watch what happens when I right click on this. Let's try that again, right click. So we only had one hyperlink choice. Now it's given us all these other options that are here, and we can go in and we can edit it. We can put like a screen tip on it. If you hover over it, it tells you some information about it. Let's take a look over here, this shape. If I right click on this, bring to front, send to back, you can link it, insert caption. So depending on what it is, when you right click on it, it's going to have different options available relating to that, which is different than just plain old text by right clicking on that. So that's kind of important. Well, the last things we're going to cover today is using headers. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. We're also going to cover, do a preview of the styles and all that for our class tomorrow. All right. So if I took the time, I could go and try and find where I can get the headers and footers, and certainly we could do it up here in the ribbon. Happens to be here on the Insert tab. But remember, we said you could left click, right click, all of that, and double click. So if I just try to single click up here on the header, you'll see that it's trying to insert down below it because I am active in the document body paragraphs or whatever, where we can do our editing and add stuff. But if you double click, boom, that fast, the header section opens. Not only that, the header footer ribbon is opened up with all these different options for what you can do. And remember, here we are on page 3. Whatever changes we make here, and I'm going to change the color of this. We're going to make it purple just for fun. It's already bold. It's already pretty big. Well, let's make it a little bit bigger. How about a 28? Just so it stands out. And I guess we'll italicize it, and we'll go ahead and underline it too. Why not? So we've made a couple quick changes on it, and I just wanted to point out a few things. Not only are we into the header section, but we're also into the footer just by double clicking on it. Mr. J, how do you get back to the main body? Well, double click. Oh, let's try that again. Double click. There we go. Now we're back into the main body of it. All right. And so again, if we double click on it, it takes us into it. In this case, it moved it. We're now on page 2. No big deal. If we want to add page numbers, we can. We have all of these preset ones. We have a bottom of the page, and usually we figure out which one we want. I kind of like the bottom right-hand side. Again, remember we're on page 2. Okay. Well, now we're on page 3 again, and there's a number. And so we changed the way that the header looked, and we added something to the footer. Can we add words in here? Sure. Double click, and there's your cursor, and then you can start adding words like one of my favorite old-time cartoon characters, Fred Flintstone. We'll put his name there for fun. And you can do all these different things. And then to get out of it, you just double click again. I don't know why it's scrolling like that. So we're back in it. Let's just go up and take a look at what we did. So here we are on the bottom of page 3, and here's 4. You see that we've changed it, and we've added these things, but it's done it to all of them. So it doesn't matter where we are, as long as it's a single section. And we don't cover sections in this class, but usually, or by default, you have just a single section. So wherever you work on the header, it's going to work for all of them, all the way to the bottom. So let's do Control End just to get to the bottom really fast. There's Fred, there's the page number, page age of 8. There we are. That's so we've covered a number of things today. We're very grateful for you attending our class today, Intermediate Microsoft Word. We hope you've learned a few things that will make your job a little bit easier. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording.